Chapter 16, Brute Force. The reader. This is a new doctrine that what is gained through fear is retained only while the fear lasts. Surely what is given will not be withdrawn. The editor. Not so. The proclamation of 1857 was given at the end of a revolt and for the purpose of preserving peace. When peace was secured and people became simple minded, its full effect was toned down. If I cease stealing for fear of punishment, I would recommence the operation as soon as the fear is withdrawn from me. This is almost a universal experience. We have assumed that we can get men to do things by force and therefore we use force. The reader. Will you not admit that you are arguing against yourself? You know that what the English obtained in their own country, they obtained by using brute force. I know you have argued that they have obtained what they have obtained is useless, but that does not affect my argument. They wanted useless things and they got them. My point is that their desire was fulfilled. What does it matter what means they adopted? Why should we not obtain our goal, which is good, by any means whatsoever, even by using violence? Shall I think of the means when I have to deal with a thief in the house? My duty is to drive him out anyhow. You seem to admit that we have received nothing, and that we shall receive nothing by petitioning. Why then may we not do so by using force? And to retain what we may receive, we shall keep up the fear by using the same force to the extent that it may be necessary. You will not find fault with the continuance of force to prevent a child from thrusting its foot into fire. Somehow or other, we have to gain our end. The editor. Your reasoning is plausible. It has deluded many. I've used similar arguments before now, but I think I know better now, and I shall endeavor to undeceive you. Let us first take the argument that we are justified in gaining our end by using brute force because the English gained theirs by using similar means. It is perfectly true that they used brute force and that it is possible for us to do likewise. But by using similar means, we can get only the same thing that they got. You will admit that we do not want that. Your belief that there is no connection between the means and the end is a great mistake. Through that mistake, men who have even been considered religious have committed grievous crimes. Your reasoning is the same as saying that we can get a rose through planting a noxious weed. If I want to cross the ocean, I can do so only by means of a vessel. If I use a cart for the purpose, both the cart and I would soon find the bottom. As is the god, so is the votary, is a maxim worth considering. Its meaning has been distorted and men have gone astray. The means may be likened to a seed and the end to a tree, and there is just the same inviolable connection between the means and the end as there is between the seed and the tree. I am not likely to obtain the result flowing from the worship of God by laying myself prostrate before Satan. If, therefore, anyone were to say, I want to worship God, it does not matter that I do so by means of Satan, it would be set down as ignorant folly. We reap exactly as we sow. The English in 1833 obtained greater voting power by violence. Did they, by using brute force, better appreciate their duty? They wanted the right of voting, which they obtained by using physical force, but real rights are a result of performance of duty. These rights they have not obtained. We therefore have before us in England the force of everybody wanting and insisting on his rights, nobody thinking of his duty. And where everybody wants rights, who shall give them to whom? I do not wish to imply that they do not know any duties. They don't perform the duties corresponding to those rights. And as they do not perform that particular duty, namely acquire fitness, their rights have proved to a burden to them. In other words, what they have obtained is an exact result of the means they adopted. They use the means corresponding to the end. If I want to deprive you of your watch, I shall certainly have to fight for it. If I want to buy your watch, I shall have to pay for it. And if I want a gift, I shall have to plead for it. And according to the means I employ, the watch is stolen property, my own property, or a donation. Thus, we see three different results from three different means. Will you say that the means do not matter? Now we shall take the example given by you of the thief to be driven out. I do not agree with you that the thief may be driven out by any means. If it is my father who has come to steal, I shall use one kind of means. If it is an acquaintance, I shall use another, and in the case of a perfect stranger, I shall use a third. If it is a white man, you will perhaps say you will use means different from those you will adopt with an Indian thief. If it is a weakling, the means will be different from those to be adopted for dealing with an equal in physical strength. And if the thief is armed from top to toe, I shall remain simply quiet. Thus, we have a variety of means between the father and the armed man. Again, I fancy that I should pretend to be sleeping whether the thief was my father or that strong armed man. The reason for this is that my father would also be armed, and I should succumb to the strength possessed by either and allow my things to be stolen. The strength of my father would make me weep with pity. The strength of the armed man would rouse in me an anger, and we should become enemies. Such is the curious situation. From these examples, we not be able to agree as to the means to be adopted in each case. I myself seem clearly to see what should be done in all these cases, but the remedy may frighten you. I therefore hesitate to place it before you. For the time being, I will leave you to guess it, and if you cannot, it is clear you will have to adopt different means in each case. You will also have seen that any means will not avail to drive away the thief. You will have to adopt means to fit each case. Hence, it follows that your duty is not to drive away the thief by any means you like. Let us proceed a little further. That well-armed man has stolen your property. You have harbored the thought of his act. You are filled with anger. You argue that you want to punish the rogue, not for your own sake, but for the good of your neighbors. You have collected a number of armed men. You want to take his house by assault. He is duly informed of it. He runs away. He too is incensed. He collects his brother robbers and sends you a defiant message that he will commit robbery in broad daylight. You are strong, you do not fear him, you are prepared to receive him. Meanwhile, the robber pesters your neighbors. They complain before you. You reply that you are doing all for their sake. You do not mind that your own goals have been stolen. Your neighbors reply that the robber never pestered them before and that he commenced his deceptions only after you declared hostilities against him. You are between Scylla and Charybdis. You are full of pity for the poor men. What they say is true. What are you to do? You will be disgraced if you now leave the robber alone. Now, therefore, tell the poor men, never mind. Come, my wealth is yours. I will give you arms. I will teach you how to use them. You should belabor the rogue. Don't you leave him alone. And so the battle grows. The robbers increase in numbers. Your neighbors have deliberately put themselves to inconvenience. Thus, the result of wanting to take revenge upon the robber is that you have disturbed your own peace. You are in perpetual fear of being robbed and assaulted. Your courage has given place to cowardice. If you will patiently examine the argument, you will see that I have not overdrawn the picture. This is one of the means. Now let us examine the other. You set this robber down as an ignorant brother. You intend to reason with him at a suitable opportunity. You argue that he is, after all, a fellow man. You do not know what prompted him to steal. You therefore decide that when you can, you will destroy the man's motive for stealing. While you are thus reasoning with yourself, the man comes again to steal. Instead of being angry with him, you take pity on him. You think that this stealing habit must be a disease with him. Henceforth, you therefore keep your windows and doors open. You change your sleeping place and you keep your things in a manner most accessible to him. The robber comes again and is confused, as all this is new to him. Nevertheless, he takes away your things, but his mind is agitated. His inquiries about you in the village. He comes to learn about your broad and loving heart. He repents, he begs your pardon, returns you your things, and leaves off the stealing habit. He becomes your servant, and you find for him honorable employment. This is the second method. Thus, you see, different means have brought about totally different results. I do not wish to deduce from this that the robbers will act in the above manner or that all will have the same pity and love like you, but I only wish to show that fair means alone can produce fair results. And that, at least in the majority of cases, if not indeed in all, the force of love and pity is infinitely greater than the force of arms. There is a harm in the exercise of brute force, never in that of pity. Now we will take the question of petitioning. It is a fact beyond dispute that a petition without backing of force is useless. However, the late Justice Ranade used to say that petitions served a useful purpose because they were a means of educating people. They give the latter an idea of their condition and warn the rulers. From this point of view, they are not altogether useless. A petition of an equal is a sign of courtesy. A petition from a slave is a symbol of slavery. A petition backed by force is a petition from an equal, and when he transmits his demand in the form of a petition, it testifies to his nobility. Two kinds of force can back petitions. We shall hurt you if you do not give this, is one kind of force. It is a force of arms whose evil results we have already examined. The second kind of force can thus be stated: if you do not concede a demand, we shall be no longer your petitioners. You can govern us only so long as we remain governed. We shall no longer have dealings with you. The force implied in this may be described as love force, soul's force, or more probably, but less accurately, passive resistance. This force is indestructible. He who uses it perfectly understands his position. We have an ancient proverb which literally means one negative cures 36 diseases. The force of arms is powerless when matched against the force of love or the soul. Now we shall take your last illustration, that of a child thrusting its foot into fire. It will not avail you. What do you really do to the child? Supposing it can exert so much physical force that it renders you powerless and rushes into fire, then you cannot prevent it. There are only two remedies open to you. Either you must kill it in order to prevent it from perishing in the fire, or you must give your own life because you do not wish to see it perish before your own eyes. You will not kill it. If your heart is quite full of pity, it is possible that you will not surrender yourself by preceding the child and going into the fire yourself. You therefore helplessly allow it to go into the flames. Thus, at any rate, you are not using physical force. I hope you will not consider that it is still physical force, though of a lower order, when you would forcibly prevent the child from rushing towards the fire if you could. That force is of a different order, and we have to understand what it is. Remember that in thus preventing the child, you are minding entirely its own interest. You are exercising authority for its sole benefit. Your example does not apply to the English. In using brute force against the English, you consult entirely your own, that is the national interest. There is no question here either of pity or of love. If you say that the actions of the English, being evil, represent fire, and that they proceed to their actions through ignorance, and that therefore they occupy the position of a child, and that you want to protect such a child, then you will have to overtake every evil of that kind whomsoever committed, and, as in the case of the evil child, you will have to sacrifice yourself. If you are capable of such immeasurable pity, I wish you well in its exercise. Thank you.